Hello, Happy New Year. It's 2021, which has a nice ring to it, I reckon. I hope you had a really lovely New Year's and you're doing well and you're safe and happy. I'm going to film a Q&A today, which I've been putting off because it's kind of hard talking to a camera for a long period of time. But I'm going to do it. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. Really, really appreciate that. I got some really cool questions as well. You guys are super rad, so thanks again for sending them in. I think what I'll do is film half of them and then I'll have a baking intermission and then I'll come back and do the rest. Just because I think it might get a bit boring just watching me yabbering on for too long. So I'll do that. But yeah, I feel like I'm having a first friendship date with you guys. You know when you go meet a new friend and you have like your first coffee date and you just ask one another a bunch of questions and get to know one another? Kind of feels like that, except I'm the only one answering the questions. I feel weirdly nervous. Anyway, I have them all written down. So, first one, how are you doing? That's a really nice question. Thank you for asking. I'm doing really well. I'm feeling super excited, which isn't an emotion I felt for a really long time. I feel like with the situation last year, it was really hard to plan anything, so I would go for months without having anything to look forward to, which is really hard. I think it's really important to have things to look forward to and to plan for. And I have that now, and I just feel like we have some really exciting things happening this year. I have a personal little thing I want to accomplish. And yeah, I just feel like really hopeful, optimistic. Yeah, I feel happy. But thanks for asking. How old are you? I am 31. My birthday is on March the 30th, 1989. Do you shoot 35mm film? I do. I love shooting film. Dan actually gave me my first film camera for my 30th birthday. It was just a little point and shoot, and I fell pretty instantly in love with it. And there's something about the process of shooting film that I love. I just find it really romantic. I think, you know, we live in such like a time where everything is so instant. Like you can take 1,000,000 photos on your iPhone and they're there automatically. It's just like this instant gratification. But with film, because it's such a slow, long process, you have to be really considered and thoughtful about the images that you do take. And I find that when I'm shooting regularly, I see the world kind of differently. Like seemingly quite mundane situations can be really beautiful. I love that part of it. Yeah, I love shooting film. If you want to check out any of my photos, I post heaps of film photos on my Instagram. I haven't been shooting lately though because my camera's broken. I keep getting light leaks every time I get the film back, which is super annoying. So in the next month or so I'm going to get it fixed, or I might even get a new one. And I'm really excited to get back into it this year. So yeah, I love shooting film. Recommend it to everybody. It's the best. Staple cooking items you can't live without. I really love this question. And they would be a wooden spoon, tongs, and a microplane. I think I use those three things pretty much every day. With the microplane, because I use a lot of citrus in my cooking, I always tend to use like the zest of like an orange or a lemon, so that's what I use it for. It's also great for like grating ginger and garlic. I just find it super handy. I use it all the time. Tongs kind of go without saying, just really helpful, good for tossing, picking things up. Yeah, love tongs. And a wooden spoon. It's just the best. You can't go wrong with a wooden spoon. So those are my top three. Yeah, those are definitely my top three. Next one, how did you and your partner meet? That's a really good question, and one that we get asked quite often actually. So I guess the short answer to that would be we met through Instagram, but I found out that Dan existed in this world through his YouTube channel. So his YouTube channel got recommended to me when I first started running, and I got really into it. I thought he was super cool, and I followed him on Instagram and he followed me back, and then we slid into one another's DMs and the rest is history, so to speak. Yeah, so we just started chatting through Instagram. We were chatting every day when he was in Europe. He was in Europe for about 3 months and he was doing ultra running there. And I was living in New Zealand, and when he came back, I went to Melbourne to visit one of my best friends, and he drove up from South Australia to meet me. And then the next day I drove with him to South Australia, and that was kind of it. We've been pretty much inseparable ever since. And a couple of months after that, I moved to Melbourne and we did long distance for a while. And then I moved to South Australia rather, about just over a year ago, and we live here together. So yeah, that's our kind of brief history of our relationship. But yeah, I feel really lucky to have Dan. I think it's one of those relationships where we met one another and he just felt like somebody I'd known for a really long time. I'm definitely the type of person who takes quite a while to warm up and to open up to people, but with him it was just like an instant thing, which I find really, really special. So I'm really grateful for him, and we're just a really good balance for one another. My mum always says that the way that we met was thoroughly modern, which is very true. What led you to Australia? So I moved to Melbourne when I was 21, and at that stage, I think the reason I moved was because I was just feeling a little bit lost in Auckland, where I'd been living for ages, and just wanted a change, and I didn't really feel drawn to anywhere else in New Zealand to live. And I visited Melbourne and I really loved it, and it just kind of was a natural progression for me. It's also quite an easy move from New Zealand to Australia. Like, it's pretty risk-free because they're so close. So I kind of felt like if something happened or I got sick of it, I can just easily head home. It's not very far away. It's like a 3-hour flight. And so I lived there for about 3.5 years, and then moved back to Auckland, and then moved back to Melbourne recently after meeting Dan, and he was kind of the catalyst for moving back again this time. However, at the same time, I was also pretty unhappy in Auckland, to be honest, and I just felt like I had more friends in Australia and it just kind of made sense. Having said that though, like, to be honest, it is quite a commitment to move to a different country for somebody. All my family's at home and I'm really close to my family, so I miss them every day. But that's just the way it goes when you're with somebody from a different country, and you know, who knows, we might live in New Zealand at some point of our lives, but at the moment it works really well for both of us. And I just consider Australia my second home, so I kind of feel pretty lucky. Long-term dreams and goals. This is a great question. This year, I guess my main goal is focused around career. Last year was a bit of a intermission as far as career and work goes. When I first moved here, I started working for Dan and his sister-in-law, and I was their housekeeper and nanny, which has been awesome. It was so nice coming and moving here and just having a job to go to straight away. And I get to look after Sadie, who's their little girl, and she's 5. She's the best. I love her so much. She's just such a joy. So it's just been so nice to, get close with her and Dan's family. Yeah, it's been really good. But at the same time, I think I've been getting pretty bored, and I'm kind of just ready to challenge myself and focus on what I'm passionate about, which is food and cooking and chefing, which is what I've always done. So what I want to do this year is to start my own business. I want to do a vegetarian meal delivery service. It's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time, but I haven't really been in a position to do so. We live in a place called Mount Gambier, which is, I think it's the second biggest city in South Australia. However, comparatively to other places I've lived, it's quite a small city, so there's not heaps of competition. There's still there's room for me, but there's still enough people who would be interested in my business. So I'm in a really good position here. So that's what I've been working on the last couple of months, is just planning it, writing all the copy for the website, planning the menu, budgeting, testing the menu, and my brother's helping me with the website. And I'm really excited. So that's probably going to launch in the next few weeks, and I'm just going to kind of see how it goes. Yeah, I'm really excited to sink my teeth into it. So that's my career goal. And I guess my goal around that is just to build a business that I'm proud of and just to feel financially secure. I guess my other goal, and it's kind of an ongoing one for me, is just to be consistent with my running. I would love to run a marathon this year, particularly the Great Ocean Road Marathon. It's one I've had my eye on for a while, but it just hasn't worked out. I think I'll just see what happens in Australia in the next couple of months as far as COVID goes, before entering something like that. And also just kind of want to just see what happens in the next couple of months as well with work and another thing that we have happening. I don't want to just bite off more than I can chew and overcommit and then feel really burnt out. So a marathon is my goal, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. But yeah, run consistently, challenge myself, and get out of my comfort zone. All right, I think I'll do one more question before I have a baking intermission. So, what motivates you? Such a good question. I think when it comes to exercise and running, I am not a naturally motivated person, and this will probably surprise some people, but I'm pretty lazy. Like, my default is, I just kind of like chilling and taking it easy. So for me to go and push myself physically and mentally, like it took a long time to get to where I am now. And how I got there was just by making it a habit. So now, like, if I wake up in the morning and I know I need to go for a 10K run, I don't think about it. I just put on my shoes, get out the door, and I do it, and then I feel the reward afterwards when I'm finished. But getting to that place, it took time. But I think it was just like making that commitment with myself. It's like you wouldn't let down a friend, like if you were to meet a friend. So you don't do that for yourself, like you don't let yourself down. So if I say I'm going to go for a run the next day, then I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it for myself. And I know how amazing I will feel after that and all the benefits that I'll get from it. And, I've talked about it in other videos, like running and movement is integral for my mental wellness. I have to do it. Like, I don't really have a choice in the matter either. It's like, if I want to live well and thrive, like, I have to be moving every day. That's just the way that I'm built. But everybody's different. And I guess, like, generally speaking with motivation as well, whenever I'm feeling stuck or like in a rut and I'm lacking kind of motivation for life, like, I remind myself of what I've been through in the past. And honestly, I've been through hell. I won't get into that too much, but I've been through a lot, and that taught me so much resilience. So I always remind myself, like, if you got through that, you can get through anything. And there's a lot of drive in me because of getting through some tough times. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go bake something because I'm sick of listening to my own voice. But yeah, I'll get back to the questions after that. Alright, back for round 2. Definitely recommend making that loaf. It's super easy to make, but really tasty. Has like carrot cake vibes to it. Really yummy. Alright, I'm going to get straight back into it, otherwise this video is going to go on forever. Coping mechanism, self-care things you implemented into your life after learning you had IBS. The first thing was assessing my diet. I spoke about it in another video. I was vegan and then I added fish and eggs into my diet, which made a big difference. And for me, it was just like a lot of trial and error and finding what did and what didn't work for my body. I did low FODMAP, I did low fiber, and just, kind of navigating that. And I think to begin with, when you get diagnosed with something like IBS, you will have periods of restriction when you kind of see what the foods are that trigger your symptoms. So that can be a really hard thing to navigate, but it's just kind of like being patient with yourself, remembering that it's just temporary and that you're just supporting the healing and the health of your body, which is, the most important thing. Second thing, which I always go on about, movement. Gotta move your body. So important to, every part of you. And every time I have a flare up, if I go for a long walk, I just feel instantly better. I think it's just about finding what sparks joy for you when it comes to movement. Like, it could be walking, it could be yoga. Find out what it is and do it. We got to move our bodies. Next one is sleep and prioritizing sleep. I love sleep. I need sleep. I'm not one of those people who can, get by with having not very much sleep. Like, I am a shell of myself when I don't get enough sleep. It really affects me, so I prioritize it, and I have been doing that for a long time. I go to bed silly early, but it works for me, and it's just important for my general well-being to get enough sleep. The next one, and a new thing for me, is mindful eating and just mindfulness in general, I suppose. I found myself this year eating dinner while scrolling from my phone, having a conversation and watching something, like, simultaneously. And then I would wonder why I had a tummy ache like 10 minutes later. I wasn't paying any attention to what I was consuming. So I've made a point to get rid of any distraction while I'm eating. So I'm just focusing on my food and looking at it and smelling it and tasting it, and just eating slowly as well, and making sure I'm chewing and just appreciating, the plate in front of me. Personality trait someone would be surprised to learn about you. I think the fact that I'm really bossy and can be quite controlling, which worked well for me when I was running kitchens, when I was chefing full time, but can probably get quite annoying to people who are around me. But I'm only bossy to people who are close to me, but it's probably one you might be surprised about. And I guess another is, like, I'm a bit of a chatty Cathy. Like, I can be really talkative, which would definitely surprise some people, because I probably can seem very quiet and introverted, which I am, but if I get into the right conversation with the right person, I will talk for a long time. And that's the thing about being introvert. People just assume that you're really shy, but the fact is I just don't like small talk. I find it really, really difficult. But if somebody asks me a deep question, or a question about life, or something with a bit more substance, I could talk for days. So yeah, I'm bossy and I'm a chatterbox. I guess those are two things people would be surprised to learn. Skincare routine. This has been something that I've got really into this year, and I guess because I used to have really good skin, and I do have good skin, but my skin was great for a really, really long time. And then when I got IBS, I started to have breakouts, and I'd always seem to have an active breakout, and even though they weren't bad, it wasn't what I was used to, and I felt really quite self-conscious. And so that's when I started informing myself about skincare and looking into it a bit more. I won't go into exact things that I use, because I could talk forever and ever, but I just really focus on hydration. I have really dry skin, but can be acne prone, and I can have flare-ups. If I have IBS flare-ups, it usually also shows on my face. So diet is one thing that can be part of your skincare routine. But yeah, I focus on hydration. I avoid things with fragrance, and I make sure I wear sunscreen every single day. That's my top skincare tip, actually. Wear sunscreen every single day, rain or shine. 3 moments of joy in 2020 and highlights. I think the first one would be seeing my family. I actually travelled during this global pandemic, which in hindsight probably wasn't the smartest thing, but I did it anyway. I went to New Zealand, I think it was in June. I was really homesick. I just wanted to see my family, so I did, and that was beautiful because I love my family. I have 2 older brothers, and they're my best friends. So seeing them and just being able to spend time with them in quite a stressful year was really lovely. I think the second one, which is also related to family, was just getting closer to Dan's family and starting to feel a part of his family, because I do get really homesick. So having another family in Australia and getting close with them and feeling comfortable with them has been a huge highlight this year. And I think COVID has kind of helped that in a way, because we've kind of been brought together. So that's been really lovely. And the third highlight was getting some awesome news on the 31st of December, which I'll talk about in another video, but we got some really cool news and it just made my year. It was pretty special. I'm not pregnant, but it's cool. I'll talk about it in the next video. Another question, which is probably one of my favorite ones, was, do you ever think being introverted holds you back? And it's such a lovely question. And the answer to that, I guess, is kind of complex. I think when I was younger, I definitely believed that being introverted held me back. I was really envious of people who were outwardly extroverted, or who seemed like they were comfortable around other people and had a sense of confidence about them. But, you know, everybody has an element of shyness or insecurity. And I've realized that as I've gotten older. So not so much anymore. Like, I think there's a lot of power in being introvert. There's a lot of power in being an observer. And I think introverts are naturally very thoughtful, very empathetic people. And I really like that quality about myself. So it can let me and hold me back if I allow it to, but when I use it in a way that adds value and growth into my life, I think it can be a really lovely thing being introverted. And I don't know, I'm kind of just used to it now. Like, I'm in my 30s, I'm kind of used to my weird behavior, and Dan's super similar to me, so we're just like, you know, we're hermits together, and I don't feel like I need outward external validation as much as I used to when I was younger. Like, I feel like I'm getting pretty comfortable and confident in my own skin, but it's taken a really long time. But no, I don't think being introvert has held me back in any way. That's it. I've done enough talking. This video is going to be really long, I feel like. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks again for sending in your questions. Super appreciate it. I hope this wasn't too boring. I find it feels almost self-indulgent doing these Q&A videos. Like, do people really care about this stuff? Anyway, it's done. So glad you watched. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one.